Hey, everybody!
Hello!
You should be able to hear both of us. Maybe not me. Maybe not me.
Why can't we hear you?
Maybe not me.
This is actually a really bad ventriloquism
Yep,
act.
can be, hit both. Great, they can hear both of us. Yay! I did it right the first time! Haha!
Very
It's like
proud of
I'm
you.
getting better at things.
Very proud of you.
Thanks. Let me turn on my... I like to make my background blurry. Let me turn that on.
I like people to see my beautiful blue wall. It's just blue-gray. Blue-gray.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As you, I'm sure, are very aware, this is the Dungeon Cooldown. Adam is joining me today to discuss a little bit of what has happened in the last couple of episodes. So just right up front, gonna warn you, there may be some spoilers discussed on this channel, so if you want to avoid those, then come back and watch us later, and you can do that by becoming a patron at our patreon.com/The Dungeon Run. And speaking of which, this show is only made possible by those who donate and join our Patreon. So thank you very much for your time, your effort, your monies, and your fandom. We very much appreciate it. Without people like you, we could not continue. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to Partos. Also, more things to be coming on the merch store in the next day or two, so keep a lookout for that. But there is definitely some brand new stuff. We got shot glasses and some new T-shirts that were part of our HOB reunion that we recently posted. So make sure you guys check that out as well.
Cravats?
They don't have them.
You know what?
No, man, I'm trying. Like, I literally, I'm not even kidding. I emailed them and was like, I need a crevasse.
Look, we need to make a cravat.
And they're like,
what kind of amateur company you're running?
Yeah, they're like, you don't, the volume is not big enough for us to invest in giant amounts of crevasses, which is their loss, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
It's just
Booming business.
It's a booming business. Adam, we'll start out right away. Whisper Josephine says that they love your podcast. They feel really seen.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing and already helpful for them.
Thank you so much. We've got an amazing response from it that we never intended. Like, it's honestly, it was just another form of therapy for Brad and myself, and to have so many people reach out and say they're connecting with it and that they feel seen. Like, that's amazing. And I'm glad you are.
Yeah, I think that's what you can hope for, right? When you're doing this kind of stuff.
You're just trying to honestly share. Yeah, that's it.
And as I have talked about on this show and in the Dungeon Cooldown in many different ways, we don't change anything unless we talk about the things that are hard to talk about.
Right, and especially especially men, man. Yeah. Guys don't talk about this stuff. Like,
the truth, man.
Yeah, people view it as weak. People view it as ineffectual or shameful. That's not what it is. It's like, how can any of us grow? How can us be better unless we're talking about the things that are slowing us down? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, so we are here today to answer some questions from the audience. We do this every week, and so this week, as always, we ask questions on the official Discord, as well as the Patreon page. So we did not get any yet from the Discord, but we also take questions here internally. So if you have questions, please type them in chat. We'll get to them. But first, let's go ahead and pull up the questions from the Patreon post. So first question, Adam. Tapartos really wants to know, and I'm sure a lot of people really want to know. Was dropping the accent in the last episode a spur of the moment improvised idea, or was it planned?
So, Cristobal's developed a lot over the course of these last couple of episodes. I don't need to tell you that, having met his father and seen what that relationship is like. The dropping of the accent was improvised, spur of the moment. That being said, there's a lot that rings true with what the NPC was talking about. Putting on the airs of court. And Cristobal, who is someone who's always just sought acceptance and visibility and being seen, by people he loves and respects, you know, he'll put on any sort of air he needs to put on to make that happen. So, you know, it was literally when Ron was talking about it being like, why do you talk that way? And then earlier when my dad said, you know, I wish you would just be yourself. And I'm like, well, what is Cristobal's true self? Like, what would, if it was all stripped away, what would he really be? And so I'm really having fun playing with that and discovering that in the game right now.
Great. I'm loving that you're discovering that kind of stuff and using the game to do that. You know, I have to say, you know, you and I had many discussions leading up to the new stuff that's going on, and it's been a lot of fun to do that, like to really sort of concentrate a little bit on Cristobal and see what's going on. And Not a Crit Fail has a question that kind of goes right into that, right into that, which is, it's for both of us. So are there any challenges in portraying familial relationships, in this case, father and son, and how do you approach that? You got any insights there?
That's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
It really is. So one of the beautiful things about Ron and I is that we knew each other before the game,
right? And
we continue to maintain a relationship during the game.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether you're playing brothers, you know, father, son, I think being able to trust your partner is crucial and paramount, and trusting the fact that they have your back and that they're going to yes and what you say to them, which is going to help you discover things. And like we had that interaction the last game about the spell book. That's that was heartbreaking. Yeah. It was so heartbreaking,
but made sense, right?
They make sense. Well, that was the thing. Is like, I know when you did that, like when you know Gonzalo came forward and handed him the book, it was in no way you setting me up to be like, I'm not, this isn't a good dad, but just the way it all worked out. And there's this shot, because I was helping Morgan cut some social media stuff this last week, where after I say that line about you had Ball do this, it cut to every other player, and they're all just making these like, sorry, I don't mean to
no, that's good.
That's what we're talking about. But no. Yeah, I really enjoy playing people with a pre-existing relationship going into any game, because I think it cuts out some of the stuff you have to wade through in order to get to the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going in and being able to like, hey, I'm labeling this as you, Ron, and Ron's labeling me this way, and then that just gives us more to work with and build a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Ron, playing my dad?
It's, you know, my biggest worry that whole first time when we saw Gonzalo was, am I going to get this accent right? You know, am I going to do that well? And I just slotted in, man. Like, you know what I mean? It was, and a lot of that is because of you, right? Like, one of the big things that I talk about in improv is that your only job as an improviser is to make your scene partner look brilliant. That is, you know, that sounds simple. There's a lot of complexity to that, but that's at the essence what I think of when I'm in a scene. And so really concentrating on your energy and being able to hear Cristobal come from you has really helped, I think. And that's why when I did it, I suffer a lot from like imposter syndrome. It's a big thing for me. Like every time today, usually Tuesday and Wednesdays, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. Like, how do I DM? I've never DM'd before. Like, what is, you know,
what are dice? What are the dragons?
What is story? What's a 3-act structure? You know, and it's, Heather is always like, of course, you know, this happens. She says, I have no worries for you. And I'm like, yeah, but I do. And it's intense. But as she says, you know, and the first thing she says to me after a show is, see, that was exactly, you know, the strength that you have there. And for me, it's a strength. Our strength is that, like you identify, we have this with each player, and I'm discovering with Josephine too, which is really great, which is this connection where we trust each other and just letting us move forward, to find the moments together. And I had a general idea of Cristobal, right? So the way I approach this, Not a Crit Fail, is I have a dad. I have technically two dads. I have a stepfather, and then I have my biological father, whom I met recently. For me, this is hard. I know what a not good father is. I have very good examples of what that is. I don't have a lot of personal examples of what a good father is, personally, right? Like all the things that I've learned about good fathers is like Heather's dad, who's a very good father, and other friends and meeting their fathers and seeing how they interact. So for me, this is strange, but it kind of works because there are things that are impacting you, and I see the cast responding to that I'm just doing because I think that's what Gonzalo would do.
Exactly.
Not intentionally malicious in any way, shape, or form. It's just the way this man processes things. And that alone has been such a gift. Like just, with a character really trying to think of like, well, I'm not trying to think about how are they going to feel when I make this decision. It's the character making the decision and trusting that you'll react the way that you need to react to that example. So that's kind of how I go about it. It's a lot of like jumping out of a plane after your parachute, It's like, okay, I got the parachute. Oh, right. I was supposed to wear that. Okay. And that's kind of what it feels like sometimes, emotionally speaking. So I find that brings out a lot of dynamicism in character relationships. In my experience.
Especially when you consider like we as characters may be pursuing the same thing, which is like a relationship between a father and son. Our approach to that goal is going to be completely different, not only based on the characters, also the players.
Yeah.
And if you factor in the idea that, like Cristobal lost his father suddenly, he always had a not strained, but a distant relationship with him. Right. And all of a sudden he was thrust into a position of power where he kind of really started to understand the weight of his father's responsibility and like the power and the presence that the man possessed. And he sought that affection and that acceptance all throughout his childhood, but like it really crystallized when he became a court wizard. Then all of a sudden he's going to meet his dad and he's like, oh, I've come to all these realizations. And his dad's like, I have too.
But we're
okay, still, yeah. It doesn't mean the walls come down. That doesn't mean the awkwardness stops.
All those all those experiences that they have are still there, right? Like those things.
When I laughed because I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like, she's like, "Oh, so you're gonna see your dad tonight? You're gonna like run up to him and hug him?" And I'm like, no. She's like, yeah, but aren't you happy to see him? I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if these two have ever hugged. Like, I don't, that's not really something they do.
Yeah. And also, once you realize he's an automaton, it's an awkward hug if that's happening. It's a little, maybe not. But yeah. So, Not a Crit Fail says this is one of the amazing things about TTRPGs. It's the beauties of it is that you can get just from role playing with people, you can sort of start to learn from experiences that you don't necessarily have. And I find that very much the case. And I think that's sort of why in some therapies they use a lot of role play, right? Especially in like marital things, is putting yourself in someone's shoes surprisingly helps you grow different neural pathways in the brain. And you tend to, as long as you are open to it, tend to learn new things in that way. And I really love it when that happens with TTRPGs.
Completely agree. Good question, by the way. Really good question.
Yeah, great question. Great. Two questions there. Tapartos and Not a Crit Fail. Thank you so much.
This next one better be good.
The next one, Tapartos also said they just wanted to say that they thought I was doing a great job. Thank you, Tapartos. I appreciate that.
He really is, though, right? Going from 2 DMs to 1 DM to a completely different world that Ron is being dropped in. He's got to work on all that. Worm physicality that he specialized.
It was funny because I was doing that in the moment just to try to like give a visual to people, especially at the table. And then you calling that out, I was like, oh yeah, that's my worm work. That's definitely what I've been working on. That's my worm work. Thomas, I believe it's Tuomask. I may be getting that wrong. But Thomas Conan.
Ooh,
I'm butchering that.
That's okay.
Do I have a map or maps of the City of Glass? No, I do not. And largely, there is a reason for that. I've been mentioning it here and there. I don't know that the players have yet picked up on it too much, but the City of Glass is constantly morphing and changing.
Moving. Yep.
It's constantly being built and broken down. Now, I might have general maps for things like the bar, or for the mansions or the towers that the governors are in, just because those tend to be solidified based around a personality rather than just, randomly changing all the time. But that also makes it very hard to do combat, right? If you don't have a map, hard to do combat. So it'll be interesting to see when combat happens, if you guys even get into it, because you seem to be very lately. Combat, as you have found in this world, the people and things that you're dealing with are very powerful, and you are not yet.
No.
And so there is sort of this, and it purposely done, where this feeling of like combat is probably something we should try to avoid as much as possible, unless we need to, and then we're going to be pulling out all the small individual use items that can help us get out of these situations as quickly as possible. And you've sort of already been doing that, especially in the labyrinth. The labyrinth is a pretty good example of that.
But then you took away my mirror.
No, you used your mirror for a very important thing. I didn't take it away from you.
That's fair. That's very, very fair. Did save us all.
Correct. There are two ways so far that you know to get here: come here through a mirror or die. So. Right. I think you coming here for a mirror is a win-win. Just my personal opinion. Personal opinion. So, 2-0 Mask, I hope that helps answer your questions. I have a general idea of where the regions are laid out, as you have heard me describe them. But in terms of what they actually look like on a piece of paper, I can't, because again, they're constantly changing.
This is going to be weird to say, but as much as I do try and picture the city we're in, I feel like I hear it more than I see it. I hear the robots moving. I hear the banging of hammers. I hear the turning of gears. I hear the whispers of the masks. Like I love your description of it. Like, going through the Scholar's Enclave, for instance, it's a great visuals. But at the same time, like I also hear like that kind of like that weird, like devoid of sound silence, because there's no life, right? And
it's almost like, and I described some of my description. I've purposefully been doing like more auditory descriptions. One, we have a podcast, this is also a podcast. So I think part of my reading all of the survey questions and really learning that kind of stuff and really diving into making the changes that the community has asked for is more descriptive languages, descriptive words and things. And I try to wrap them around senses, because that's what people are tied into in their own experiences, what something smells like. I think that's what's really strong about Jeff's. The first thing you notice is the smell. It immediately drives you, it's a trope. It's a thing he's doing to draw people in, because the smell is such a sensory overload for a lot of people that's easy to get them sort of, I know what that kind of smell. I know what wet earth smells like. I've been outside after it's rained, that kind of stuff. But in City of Glass, especially because it's made of metal and glass, if you go back and watch, a lot of what I'm saying is also auditory, because there is that general, tinking of glass and the hum. There's power in the city, so you hear that hum of power and the automatons working and all of that. So absolutely. We got a couple of questions here. One for Adam from Tapartos. How is Cristobal handling how, quote unquote, unnormal the City of Glass is compared to the mortal world?
That's a good question. How is he handling how versus the normal world?
Also, we have Josephine watching. Just let you know.
Oh, we should stop talking about it then.
Hi, Josephine.
I think Cristobal has been in a world of chaos since getting sucked through the mirror the first time to the North Island. And now he is back in a world of rules and laws and straight lines. And I think he takes a lot of comfort in that, because what Cristobal excels at is like, okay, this is the path. This is how I can sidestep the path, right? Like the way he operates, the way he manipulates, the way he gathers information and utilizes that again. Like all of that is like, it's almost like there's a rule book.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a box, so you know how to function within and outside of it.
Yeah. Right. But if you drop someone like Cristobal in the middle of the woods and they're like, survive, he's going to be like, ugh. So I think Cristobal is really enjoying, in some regards, the City of Glass, coupled with the fact that here, Lumbra's a big dog. Back home, no one really knows or cares about Lumbra. But here it's like, well, I'm one of Lumbra's chosen. So a little... Cristobal likes status, everybody. I don't know if you've picked up on that at any point throughout watching this show. Cristobal likey statusy.
Likey the status. It's funny that you bring that up about Cristobal. I relate to Cristobal in this way, especially in creative elements, where for me it's much easier if you just give me a blank page. I'm gonna stay there. I'm gonna get paralysis, right? I'm gonna get creative paralysis. But if you gave me a blank page that had a big old splotch on it, it's gonna be very easy for me to create based on that. And I think that's somewhat similar to what you're discussing about Cristobal.
And I think that's most creatives, is that idea of like, label me, give me anything. You label me anything, and I can use that to jump to the next thing.
That's why we asked for, when improv, can you give us a suggestion? Because that's going to start us right off and we go from there. Although that can also be disastrous depending on, especially the crowd. Poo.
Exactly right.
Okay, this is not what we want to base everything on.
Why are we doing improv at a college?
Oh my god. Are you 4? Oh, that is a 4-year-old.
Okay, that's weird. A 4-year-old.
Question from Ron from not a crit fail. Was there anything player choice wise that surprised / delighted you during the one-on-one interactions between the masks and the characters? I was really excited for that. I kind of made the decision to do that sort of last minute.
Those were delightful.
It was a lot of fun. I was like, they're based on them, so this is gonna be a lot of fun. Of like, it's that improv game of mimicry, right? Just I'm mimicking you. I have my own. There are clear goals for the mask, and they're made clear by all of you because you sort of laugh when I sort of weave them in by mimicking all of you. But that was kind of what surprised me the most. I think not a crit fail was how often I was surprising the players with what was coming out. That's what it was really for me a delight. Was that I was able to, I've said it, Adam, many times, every time before we start, I'm nervous at the table because you guys are all so really, really smart. And so the things that I like try to pepper in there to be displayed later are picked up pretty quick. And our watchers are the same, right? We have a very dedicated group of watchers, and they're very sharp and they pick up things pretty quick. And so that makes my job hundreds of times harder, because sometimes it's easy to sort of pepper those in, and I have to be a little bit less, I have to be way more subtle than I'm necessarily used to being.
Sure.
So for me, the joy of being able to sort of catch you unawares was a lot of fun. Now, we didn't get to do one because you already have a mask, and I just want to point out, I will make it very clear that mask you're wearing is not your mask.
Not my mask.
It is not yours. That's correct. Nope. It is not yours.
I'm super excited to explore that moving forward. I don't know if Carrie and Serena pointed out the fact that Ball has Cristobal's mask on.
Yep.
Did they? I know they said.
I don't know that they pointed out explicitly. I don't know
because I missed
if they did, but. Yeah, but I made it clear that that mask looked a lot like you.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
And Gus doesn't have a mask because I'm wearing their mask, and
The Dungeon Speedrun asks, are all the masks half-faced or is it mixed? Dungeon Speedrun, all the masks that you have seen so far, they're all half in some way, typically diagonally across the face. Whether there's full masks or not, we will see. We did that one from Adam, and it's okay that you're running late. The Dungeon Speedrun, so were we, just a little bit. And Tapar just wanted to mention that you have a force card mirror, so you do have that.
Oh, believe me, I know all about that. I'm really hoping we get to walk into the governor's mansion. I start distracting everyone with that mirror.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you wearing? Look at your stuff. You look terrible.
Josephine, you don't have to leave. Just know that, there might be, we'll warn you if there's anything that you shouldn't know. But yeah. Oh, here's a big one. And it's okay if you don't want to ask this or you want to keep it up for later, but someone asks, does Cristobal trust Rhea?
Is Josephine still in the room?
That's a good question. I don't know.
So here's the thing. This is what I will say about the way I've decided to play Cristobal. Cristobal trusts everybody because he honestly thinks that he will outmaneuver or outthink or outsly them. Now, does he like the fact that Reyes has a close personal relationship with the man that he wants a close personal relationship with? Not a big fan of that. But he definitely recognizes Rhea's strengths, importance, what they can bring to the party. And I mean, Josephine's just a blast to play with, because we get to have those subtle moments of like, you know, there was a good 10 minutes, I think, in the last game that I just kind of grilled them about. So you're close with my father, you know. It's just like,
tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, Cristobal does trust Rhea. Is he always looking for an angle? Yes, he is. He won't be doing that, obviously, but yeah, the fact that he finally got a worm out of the, you know, which was, you know, which I didn't have to eat.
Yeah,
very excited about that. Very excited.
And there's one thing that I really love about what you're portraying with Cristobal, Adam, is that Cristobal's a very likable character. He's a very likable character. He's very fun. He has a lot of bravado to him, but he has some deep flaws. And one of his deep flaws is that he is very selfish. And I love the way that you play it off, because it doesn't come off as this like narcissistic selfishness. It's more of a selfishness that was built, I think, on necessity and growing up in a court system, right? In the court. There's sort of a need for that, right? And as actors, I think even Morgan and I were talking about that right before the last show, where it's like, there's a certain amount of like ego that you're just standing in front of on camera, right? There's a certain level of self-confidence, but ego as well, that like, I'm gonna be the one in front of this camera right now. And so I find that in Cristobal, it's a little stronger. And I think that's because of the court raising, but the way that you pull that off is so masterful. So I just want to share that.
I think Cristobal's the strength in that, to play a selfish character. I think the best way to do it is, what I'm selfish. I have needs from you. Right. I need something from you. Right. So therefore, I'm going to treat you like gold for as long as I possibly can, which is only going to strengthen group dynamics and improve relationships. And then when the turn comes, because it's you or me, I'm going to pick me. So it's going to be good. It's good.
Yeah. It's a trope, especially amongst like anti-heroes, right? Like, it's a good one usually, and often good storytelling can happen there too, because either the character grows and changes that behavior and realizes they're selfish and that they really do love their friends, and that's why they do it, not just because they're selfish, or they go the opposite way where they're like, no, I'm really selfish and like my friends don't really matter. They're not really my friends because I'm selfish. Yeah.
It's interesting because you talk about anti-heroes, and it's like, whenever I think anti-hero, I'm like Wolverine. Wolverine's an anti-hero, right?
Venom.
And Wolverine, I am not bad-mouthing Wolverine, everyone, so don't blast me.
Don't tell Marvel.
I'm just saying that Wolverine can be pretty boring to watch and play, because he's going to say no to everybody. Everybody. And
he's going to say it and then make changes and
then change later. And I'm like, great. So in about 3 hours, when the show's over, you're going to make a change that's going to allow us to continue the story. I'm like, no, say yes. Just say yes and have a reason for doing it. Justify it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason I am teaching Otto. You know, there's a reason I'm constantly talking about the Feywild with Coco. Like, there are reasons I'm constantly pestering Val about his status in the court. Like, there are reasons.
And I see you dive into them. As soon as you're given even the slightest bit of allowance, you're like, yes, let's do that. Let's do this. Yeah. I love this. Yeah. I love it.
Because it's funny, because it'd be too easy for, like, Coco is a ranger. They live in the wild. They live in the dirt and the muck and the mire. And guess what Cristobal would never put his feet in? The dirt, the muck, or the mire. None of it. So I could literally look at Coco and be like, next. Or find
Right.
find a
Or
way
find
to
it.
make it,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
which is so
Yeah.
much more fun.
Right. And still be reviled by those things when they come up, as they naturally will with the ranger, but finding a different reason for. And that's why you are such a strong member at the table, is you're finding any reason to interact with your fellow players. And that's, I think, something that our watchers who play at home can learn a lot from, is that find those reasons to interact with your party. It will, one, strengthen group dynamics. Even if you have a conflict, it'll still strengthen group dynamics. And here's the big thing. It helps your DM tremendously.
So much.
It helps
so
them
much.
so much. That's why I love having, it's another reason why I love having Adam. Adam, have I told you how much I love you? Have I told you that? I don't think I have. I do. And because you've been at my table a couple of times now, I know that you know this stuff as a DM, and it's really good to have players who are also DMs, because they can really help. Jared, I think, did a lot with Civ. I tried to do it as Ugo with Jeff all the time, where, we know what he's struggling with and what he's trying to do. And if we're paying attention and really just being true to that character, we can give a lot to the DM to work with. It also can sort of backfire on the DM, because it's like, now you know all my tricks and combat. Now I got to come up with different things in combat to make this harder. And
I gotta create a whole city of glass. You're worshiping Lumbra.
Dude, the number of NPCs that I've had to voice, and I'm not going to get them all right. Like, I'm not always going to use the same voice as I can, because you're just going to run into them and be like, yeah, that guy. Like, okay, another voice I got to make right now. So I'm running out of character voice tropes and start recycling them. But, hey, we'll work with it. I'll do what I can. I think I've been doing an okay job so far.
You've been doing great, buddy. Great. I love your Gonzalo. It's awesome.
Yeah, Gonzalo is a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun too. And Baron Medulon's a lot of fun as well. So, Not a Crit Phil says, we do love Cristobal. He has never done anything wrong ever in his life. LOL.
Ever. He is the most innocent person.
Tuparto says, the worm coming to life when Rhea touched it is still making his brain go nuts.
Me too. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. That was so much fun.
All Cristobal knows about that is Rhea doesn't like the worm.
Yeah,
that's all he knows.
And that's really all you do know, right? That's all you know, other than the blip of magical energy that you saw, which
most of us
very
didn't
descriptive.
see.
Yeah, which most of you did not see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But even that is not necessary. Even to the person who did see it, it was just a blip of magic that they saw. It is not really descriptive other than that, right? So there's not a whole lot to go on there, but it's definitely, it goes, that's weird.
Yep.
For sure. Much like when you put the mask on, and those situations when they first, they arose in the party, for sure. Very similar. Very, very similar. Fail Waffle legit loves you, and a shout out to you, Adam.
Oh, Fail Waffle, thank you.
Dungeon Speedster says, love how Christo seemed. I love the name Christo, by the way, as well.
Christo.
Ball and Christo. You're Christo and he's Ball.
Oh my god, when you said
Ball and you
Ball,
did that, dude, I loved that. I was not expecting it, and when it happened, I was like, this could not have gone better right now.
What made me laugh so hard is when you said Ball, I was like, oh my god, that's adorable. Ron came up with a nickname for Cristobal that his dad says, oh, that's gonna make him light up. And I was like, yes, father. And he's like, oh, bro, I can't count.
Oh no, I was talking to yeah. Whoops. But those are the things that you improvise, and you can't plan, right? Those are little bits of things that we can't plan that we just discovered together in that moment.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah. Oh, I hate that robot.
Yeah. Which space is going to tell Hugh Jackman on you?
No,
for all of your
if that Aussie comes around and he's gonna put me in the ground.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Yeah.
One of my buddies actually worked with him on Logan. He did some combat with him, and he was like, that man is 30 years older than me and scares the bejesus out of me every single time I saw him on set. And it was funny because he was like, he's the nicest. He's just like, hey, everyone, how's it going? He's like really nice Australian guy who looks cut out of granite, and he gets that crazy mutton chop. Oh, please don't send Hugh Jackman after me. Let him stay in Broadway doing Music Man. Leave him there.
Yes, let him do that.
Sutton Foster.
For sure. Question from Tapartos. Does Cristobal have any interest in the gauntlet he took, or read the book that came with it?
So Tapartos, fun fact. I have read the book. I made sure to do that in game. And I also just found a cleric of Lumbra.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I need to make that gauntlet work is a cleric. And it's the cleric of Lumbra now. So Adam, the player, is going, how can I make this work? How can I make this? How long is this whole season? All right, how many episodes do we have? What do we have to do? Because I definitely want to make that gauntlet work. And I very much think that depending on how things progress in the City of Glass, I will be able to justify him taking that leap pretty easily. I'm going to get a lot of pushback from the party, understandably.
Yeah.
But that's
let him discover it in a moment. Let him discover that in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see if that gauntlet comes to fruition, but I don't want to force it. Yeah. Like, that's the other thing, right? It's such a drastic. I'm not going to get into too much detail about what the gauntlet entails because Josephine's still watching. I want it to be a surprise for them as well. But like, it is a drastic action.
Yes.
To do the gauntlet.
Yep.
And Cristobal does things measured. He makes measured choices. The few times he hasn't made measured choices, he's been stabbed through the chest by a wasp. Yep. So yeah. But yes, long story short, very interested in using the gauntlet, looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, Not a Crit Fail says all the pieces seem to be falling into place.
Exactly. It's almost like Ron wants me to use the gauntlet, which I'm sure is going to go perfectly well. I'm sure I'm not going to get sucked into another afterlife, which is, this is Barumba's afterlife.
New god, new afterlife. Everything different.
Oh, you thought Lumbra was the penultimate? No, this is Barumba.
Barumba. On that note, I love what Serena and Otto are doing with the gauntlet. Or with that they called the gauntlet.
Yeah.
I love that. Serena sort of different gauntlet, obviously very, very different gauntlet, but same word. Serena sort of was looking for a way to describe what happened while they were in, like, what she needed something to understand about what Otto might have experienced and like what was going on with Otto through that time. And so one of the things we kind of worked on together was, you could certainly, this is a thing from Bahatha, so this certainly could have any variations of magical properties to it. And one of the things they really harped on at the beginning was maybe it was like a gauntlet or like trials. And that was it. That was all that Serena and I really talked about. Everything since then has been Serena just inventing it and me yes-anding it and going through with it. And I love this aspect of creation that Serena has found. It's really given her a game to play, especially with me and the rest of y'all. And I love it. I can't wait to see where that goes. I think it's a really strong choice.
Can we also talk about how gruffer, tougher Otto is still, the voice is just a little lower?
Yeah. The adult is just slightly toned down. Yeah, I'm super adult now.
Super adult, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Angel Dovison says we need a one shot of their adventure. And Dungeons Pizza Run says just one. And I think, guys, you're starting to already sort of pick up of what Morgan and I and the rest are sort of have been planning, which is it's easier to watch shorter seasons, right? It's easier to get new people on board for small story sections rather than hey, you've got 140 episodes that you need to catch up to really understand what's going on here at all. Where now we're saying we're adding chapters, right? We're adding different chapters to things. So there could be a 1 or 2 shot adventure of how did Rhea get to the City of Glass? There could be a 1 or 2 shot adventure of what happened to Otto while they were in the gauntlet. There's a lot of options and availability for that. This is kind of what we've been shooting for as we grow.
I'd love to see the gauntlet one because Otto has already said to Val, I've already killed you. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, you need to have a horror episode in the gauntlet where Serena has to murder all of us.
And all of them. Yeah, I mean, that's literally, you said that right as Not a Crit Fail posted, is they already killed Val. I want to see it all. Let me see Otto kill all of their friends.
It would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
It'd be amazing.
Absolutely. And to Partos, right. That is one thing that we've talked with Katie is Katie can really do maybe one shots here and there because of their family needs. So there are definitely more opportunities for that as well. as well as like complete other DMs coming in and running, you know, short arcs for us, and even my hope to get a couple of the cast that of this of the main show to run a couple of their own as well. And
I want
throughout
Carrie
all of
Lee. I
that,
want Carrie Lee to run one. I want Carrie Lee to run
especially a
against.
Feywild one, that would be very
Oh,
fun.
so great.
It would be very fun. Any kind of chaos
Yep.
based one would be a lot of fun. The beautiful part about it is we're also trying to make it so that all of these shows are based in the same lore, so that there are connecting pieces to all of them. Because that's one of the big things we heard from our audience members, is that they really want more lore and backstory of characters. And so this gives us a lot of options, changing to this sort of gives more people more opportunities outside of our own us to come forward and show how skilled they are, as the cast has already been doing, and Josephine starting to do with us. So there's a lot of changes and things that we want to happen in the future that you're already starting to see little bits and pieces of. So sticking around, you're going to see even more as we progress and move forward. So super excited about all of it. It really feels the energy in the community is high and active, and I love that. I think it really speaks to listen to your audience. Like, you know, just ask them. They'll tell you. You just have to ask.
This is what we want.
Yeah. And when you make those changes, you will also get other people, right? Because that inspires your community to talk about it and to be like, this is what happened. This is, oh my God, like this is what's going on, you know? And I think that's really what we're trying to really focus on, is how can we make this as good as possible and grow, but also keep the base strong and excited about what's going on. And I got to say, the cast is 100% the reason that's happening. So you guys have been wonderful with the changes. I know there's been a little bit of, as there is with any change, right? Change is a thing that,
Stop it. No, stop it, Ron. Stop.
Change can be scary, right? As human beings, our brains are wired to sort of fight or flight experience when change happens. I have found in my life that really dialing in on change and giving it the energy that it's worth tends to work out, especially as long as you're communicative during the process. And so I hope you guys have realized that I'm way more communicative with you. I'm checking in a lot more constantly on just how everyone's feeling. You know, do we feel good in the way that we're progressing? And I think that has a lot to do with you guys being open to that communication. Has everything to do with you know, all the changes that are going on and the change that we made. But I really want to talk about the big change that's happened. We're now Force of Light and Force of Shadow.
Yeah.
And you know, there was some talk about maybe it would change per show. We're pretty sure this will be what it is from now on. It has all of the elements that we loved about Force of Good and Force of Evil, but really plays a little bit more into the lore and world structure that the cast has chosen into. So, you know, again, I talked a little bit about it on the last episode, but I do want to just mention it here on the cooldown as well, is that Force of Light tends to mean helpful, right? Light is a helpful thing. Plants grow, we need vitamin D, but as I also identified, too much light can be very bad, right? Like you can get a sunburn, you can get sun poisoning, you can heat stroke, these things. So we're really trying to dive more into that balance of things. And just like Shadow, people think, things that happen in the dark are so terrible and horrible. Not necessarily. A lot of great stuff happens in the dark.
Yeah. I played a paladin in one of your games, Verendul Jalar of the Bedin, who was he was a paladin of a shadow god. And he was in no way an evil person.
Right.
It's just like he was from the desert.
Yeah.
And Shadow is a place of safety and of comfort and of respite in the desert. So to say it was evil didn't make any sense to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot of nuance there when you talk about light and dark. Yeah. Right. So.
And we're already seeing you guys play with that a little bit with Umbrith and Luminath as well, which has been super helpful. But this really comes into for all of what we're doing, right? Especially the gods who watch. As I have the new moniker I have sort of given to our watchers. it gives them, I think, a lot more clarity, especially new gods that watch. Any of the new gods that show up. Force of light, force of shadow. I generally understand what these concepts are and can understand what we're dealing with. So it'll be exciting to see some of the new force cards that come out from our community, because that is surprisingly enough, one of our biggest things was merch. Merch was like our biggest, like, this is how people want to support us, is more and more merch, which is super cool. But also force card submissions. People really love to a lot of the survey respondents were like, oh yeah, that's one of the best ways for me to help is to
they're
submit
amazing.
force cards. And
they're amazing.
They are amazing. There are a lot of work. Jared does a lot of work on them because, you know, you've got to make them fit. And there are a lot of force card submissions that are just like, yeah, I'd like you to kill the party. And it's like, well, that's not how, you know, and I'm summating, obviously, you know, I'm sort of lumping a bunch of things, but it's like, hey, do this much damage. You know, like, that's a lot of damage. Like, they will die. They will die quickly. So it is good though. And one of the things that, for those of you who submit force cards that lead to role play, those are the best, right? One, the force, those people who contributed to getting that force to kick off now get this cool role play moment that they really enjoy, in addition to changing the world about them. But it's also, now you get to go, hey, that was my idea. And it gives a gift to the players themselves and the DM. So that's one thing that I can really, as a sort of directing our force card submitters, if you guys do more and more where it can be hindrance or helpful, but if it leads to specific role play moments, and one of the best ones I think was the mirror that Val got, that you now have, which he had to do sort of like as he looked in the mirror to get that card, that very powerful item, he had to sort of tell a little bit of story about himself. Those kind of things are really, really good, right? That helps across the board in every way.
And it's amazing sometimes the ones that do. Like I'm thinking back on, not that we haven't had a lot of great submissions. I'm just referencing, we did the Kid DM game not too long ago, which I had a lot of fun doing. One of the things that our Calvin brought in was, he was like, it's a glove of transformation, and that was just I mean, the whole game, it was just Katie having a blast, like flicking it, and all of a sudden the game changes, and it's a lot of fun. So don't get me wrong, everyone loves Vorpal swords, but there's something to be said about like the mirror that's been created for Val.
And interesting things like that aren't necessarily super powerful or not super powerful. They could be just interesting aspects of what's going on. So Witchspace says black and white, light and shadow, Paragon and Renegade. That's not where the fun is. Embrace the gray. And I think, absolutely. And I think that's one of the big things that I've been trying to do with the City of Glass, is really give you that there's a lot of gray area here, guys. Like, there's a lot of bad and there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of gray area. And whether something is light or dark is more on the person who's making the decision, right? They're just working within the same spectrum that everyone else is, but because everybody's viewpoint lands in a different part of the spectrum, when you summate all those things, you get a beautiful gradient. And that's kind of what, especially with the changes to the force cards, that's really what we're trying to do, is get that gradient of like, yes, shadow can be very harmful. It can also be really, really good, right? It can be helpful in if you want to hide from something, shadows are really good. Or if it's really hot outside, shadows are really good, because it's gonna, especially in California, because now it's a lot cooler because the air is dry. So there's a lot to be said here. And I think that's why one of the strongest reasons that Morgan and I sort of decided to make that change was because it really helps solidify. People understand the gray in their own lives. They can now understand, oh, okay, we're playing the same thing. We can just now sort of influence. I'm feeling sunshiny today. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of light today. You know what? No, I'm feeling super dark right now. You know, you're going to get that burst of shadow now. So that's kind of what we're hoping to really do with all of that. So, yeah. Not a Crit Fail says, I submitted some before the change to light and shadow. Great. I'm sure I have to go look at them. I'm going to start looking at them myself. I'm sure they're probably fairly easy to sort of switch to a light and shadow flavor. But even then, it doesn't have to be. It can, there's in light, there is all color, right? In light, there's all color. So you can do elements and stuff like that in either side, and we'll make it work.
Also, I think any of the nature-based force cards that go off in Lumbra's world would be fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There seems to be a real lack of that, huh?
Yeah, weird. It's
Weird. That's all I'll say about that. Weird.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Weird. Taparto says website needs updating for the new card changes at some point. Absolutely. Working on all of this, I promise you. I even, and if you hadn't noticed it, I know some of you have already signed up in the Discord. I've sort of started tracking people who want to be part of a lore project that I'm working on. I'm still working on the details of that, and will be coming soon. But we're going to start relying on the community to help us a little more on some of this stuff, so that we can share that responsibility. But lore specifically, because you guys watch as it is, and you're all so into it, we really want to especially those who are super into it, we really want to foster communication around that lore, because it's just another way for you to interact with the show, right? There are plenty of times where we see things where that would be kind of cool if we added that. How could we go about that? So that's kind of the essence of the lore project that's coming. It's unnamed currently, but will be coming forthwith. I Am the Raven Queen says Pumpkinhead. I don't know if you know this. I did recently the Game On to End Lupus charity event. Still got some giveaways going on. Some mini giveaways going on with that. So you guys make sure to jump into my Discord sometime and get in on that. But Game On and Lupus raised money for lupus research. My mom has lupus. I've talked about this on the show before. And one of the things that would do is called crowd control. Adam, have you ever played a crowd control game?
I have not.
So the essence is you have sort of a third party app that allows people to purchase changes to the game you're playing.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I Am the Raven Queen likes to mess with me a lot, and rightly so. But for example, when I was playing Skyrim, I went into a merchant's home, and while I'm there, she drops an ice troll on me. And me just trying to survive, I'm like, oh, I'll just run out the door. It'll follow me. I'll kill it out there. It didn't follow me. So I'm like, okay, I got to go back inside to kill it. And before the screen could even load, the ice troll is doing so, because I'm level 3 or 4 at the time.
Right.
Is doing so much damage to me that I die as soon as I load. So it was like an infinite reload screen.
I would have loved if you'd gone back in and all of a sudden it had entered a contractual agreement with the merchant, because now he's going to provide ice goods that the merchant couldn't ordinarily get.
Hey, thanks for bringing me an ice troll. I didn't have access to those.
The markups are ridiculous, though. Really high. Yeah.
One of the things that Raven Queen's talk about is the Pumpkinhead. All of that to do the Pumpkinhead in Minecraft. They have pumpkins, and sometimes you can put them on your head, and it gives you sort of a jack-o'-lantern view.
Sure.
She liked to drop those on me a lot, so. Lumbra needs a pumpkin head is their point.
That could be fun, because then you could do a jack-o'-lantern carving situation, right? So one side's got it'd be fun.
Bulgarian says the lore project just makes me think about TNG. I'm not sure that moniker. I'm not sure what TNG is. And maybe that's the neutral game. I love guessing these things.
TNG. Total Nerd Gateway.
Oh. The Next Generation. Oh.
Gotcha. Next Generation.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm a little embarrassed I didn't know that.
Yeah, I am too now. Me too. Me too.
Well, humbling.
Yeah, the whole point of that is especially chaos is kind of what Raven Queen's point is. But I think we've answered all the questions. We technically have another couple of minutes left if there are any more questions from the audience. And, I want to start doing something. Is there anything, this is your time, Adam. Is there any question that you have for me?
Any question I have for you?
And you can be wide-ranging the question. I may give you an answer. I may not. I reserve the right not to reveal things. But Dungeon Speedrun, thank you. I do have to talk about the spinny towers. I'll get to that as soon as Adam asks his question.
Okay. When Coco,
Yes.
now I know we don't know where she went. This
Yes.
is more just a general question.
For sure.
They followed Nasir into the Shadowmire, not the Twisted Lanes.
No, they are in the Twisted Lanes.
So they're in the Twisted Lanes.
Yes.
But we know that Medrulon's tower is not in the Twisted Lanes.
Correct.
It's in the Shadowmire.
Correct.
Got it. So they're in a separate location where some underhandedness may be going down.
Yes, as far as you know, and again, you don't know everything that sort of happened around you, but yes, as far as you know, they went looking somewhere in the Twisted Lanes, and that was not the Shadowmire itself, so that's definitely a different location. Now, whether they stayed there, whether that was a house, again, you've heard that the city changes constantly, whether that was, a base of operations or something that can be found, you'll have to find out in game for that.
Fair enough. Does my dad love me?
I think you know the answer to that. I think you know the answer to that. Does Cristobal know that answer? I don't know, but I think you know the answer.
That's a very good point. No, I don't have any questions, Ron. I just love playing the game.
Yeah, same.
Here's the thing. You'll know about me, watchers, if you haven't figured this out yet. If I don't know the answer to something, I will just make it up.
Yep.
I will not let ignorance stop me from making a decision. I will just make a decision. And then
that's real. That's
that's how it is. I don't necessarily know.
Indeed. Tupartos was not a sleep effect. It was I hit you over the head a lot. Just to make that clear. Yeah, because he was like, can't put her to sleep. Yeah, you can't put him to sleep with magic. Head trauma, however, does cause an elf to go to sleep. And we take liberties for storytelling sometimes. She has hit points and all that, but there's liberties and that kind of thing. So I'm sure you've seen it in other episodes of other TTRPGs.
Oh, are you referring to Coco?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, sorry to make that clear. Yeah, he was referring to Coco. Yes, the thing that poked Coco, being elf, she's immune to magical sleep effects. Correct. Not immune to stun or unconsciousness, but immune to magical sleep for sure. Was not magical sleep is probably the best way to put that.
I feel really bad. I'm sorry. I just want to say I feel really bad for her captors when she wakes up and just summons Slushy into the room.
Yep. Yep. It's going to be a lot of fun to role play that for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun to role play that. Dungeon Speedrun had a question about the towers. And let me pull that. Explain tower rotation. Is it center shedding light on a ring of other towers like a clock face? Or do outer towers also rotate and or emit? So it is much like if you see on some clocks they have a one clock for the hour and the minutes, and then they have like here is the month clock and here is the minute clock kind of thing. So the outer towers, the light is all ambient levels of light. So if they're rotating, it's not like half the tower is beaming light and half the tower is beaming shadow. If it's still lit, there's a level of gradation to the amount of light that's coming. Like the moon, right? When the moon is full, it is very bright outside at night. But when the moon is new, it's very dark outside. So it's similar to that. And the towers, especially the outer ones, are reflecting that ambience of light during the day. So it starts out really bright and moves towards a much, much, much darker as the towers rotate and turn off. The center tower represents the phases, right? That's how people know what current phase they're in, who's in power, what level of power they're in, all of that kind of stuff. At least this is how you could surmise from being there how this sort of works, especially in interacting with the Chosen, the Embraced, and what they have talked about it. So that's kind of, does that clear it up, Dungeon Speedrun? Does that clear it up for you? Witchface says in 20 episodes, Coco is going to go through halfway. Cool. I mean, it's still sort of a mystery. There's still some mystery to it. So definitely. So in 20 episodes, Coco is going to go through bad times due to a traumatic brain injury. And Tabarto says, so maybe she'll just ask them for some tea. She'll wake up and be like, hey, you guys got any tea? Coco being kidnapped is going to be so entertaining. I love that for us. Not for the captors, though. LOL.
Yeah, that's a very true statement.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, Dungeon Speedrun, by all means, especially when we start doing that lore stuff, this is the kind of interaction I want with our lore, the people who are interested in lore, is like, I create lore. There may be holes in these lores. I'm really good at solving them when I realize that there are holes. So that's one of my great powers in improv. It's one of the things I'm really proud of myself, which is I am really good at justification in improv. It's one of my superpowers. In world creating, that's kind of what I do is I make a choice and then, oh, there's holes, gotta patch them up and make them look better. There's more to be expressed about the towers. So some of it's not holes. It's just, you haven't seen all of the things that are occurring yet. But we'll get to that soon, I am sure. But what does the dirt taste like though? Hey, the thing I'm most interested in you guys figuring out is, why is all that obsidian coming out of the mansion, of the tower?
Yep.
What's that about?
Yep. Gonna get some questions for Otto.
Yeah. So, and where's it all coming from? Ooh. So, that I think will be some stuff that we learn in the next couple of episodes, I'm sure, depending on what you guys decide to do. But yeah. And then Witchbase says now they have to create a Lumbral Tower rotation animation. By all means, please. There are 13 of them. There's one central big tower. That's one of them. And then there are 12 others that sort of rotate within the 6 districts. So enjoy that. Okay. Been modeling it. Engineering questions. Well, Dungeon Speedrun, you're always welcome to DM me if you want to, more information. I'm certainly can help. I might make you not tell anyone, but we'll see. Only way to know is to ask. So if you need more information, I can share what I can, and otherwise just wait until it all comes out later. So that is our show for today. Thank you everyone for the questions and just a general good time. Adam, it is always a pleasure to talk with you, friend.
Thanks,
I'm glad we get to do it more than just this moment. And I will see you tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It will be fun.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Just drinking a lot of really red water right now.
Yes.
A lot of red water getting drunk.
A lot of red water. Just to let you know, everyone, tomorrow we will be sans Akoko. There will be no Carrie tomorrow. That's sort of on purpose, obviously, from the stories that's going on. And then the following week, we will be off from the Dungeon Run. We're doing 3 on, 1 off is kind of how we're doing it, to give our cast and myself some time to sort of plan for bigger things. And also, if you haven't noticed, there'll be a lot less combat in general. That is because, man, minis and stuff like that, I love doing them, but they are, especially terrain, is just very time consuming. And for the amount of time that you end up being on it, I'm being a little bit more strategic with it. So there may be some theater of the mind combat going on, or other types of encounters that don't necessarily include maps, but there will be maps and some big encounters. They're just going to be less of them.
I will social my way out of any violent situation.
I believe that you will try. Thanks for everyone for joining. We really appreciate it. As always, this show is not possible. It sounds like unpainted clear resin prints to me. Yeah, but there's also metal and yes, absolutely. We certainly could do that. This show is made possible by our patrons. So thank you very much for being a patron. And if you're not a patron, consider it. We have varying levels that come with varying different things. Please consider joining us as a patron. You could even get all the way up to Force of Light and Force of Shadow levels and have your names improv'd at the end of the show, which is always a super fun thing to do. And I'm so glad that you guys are up for me joining, because I miss doing it so much. I miss doing, and you guys are such a great improvised team. Like, I want to be a part of that. So it's gonna be so cool. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, for your effort, for your money, for your fandom. We really appreciate everything that you do. Again, without you, we would not be a thing. So thank you. And there will be more. I will be having more. I'm planning for sort of a mid-year, maybe a little bit later than mid-year, another sort of round of surveys to get even more information. I'm super big on communication. I think we've had so much success with it that it's only going to be better if we continue to do it. So keep a lookout on all of that as well. You can do all of that on our unofficial Discord. Make sure you join. And if you're interested in that lore project, you should be able to check that out. You should be able to check that out on the Discord as well. More information coming that in the next couple of weeks, probably on our week off. I'll have some time to get to that. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Hey, stick around. We're going to raid Josephine, who is streaming right now. I think last I checked, they were streaming. They changed it now. Okay, great. Josephine is now streaming. It looks like Final Fantasy VII DLC playthrough. So that's cool.
It's a great game.
That is such a good game. And if you love Final Fantasy, you should also check out my Discord, because I've got a giveaway with some Final Fantasy characters, including this lovely little Vivi I painted.
Oh, cool.
Here, and a giant Leviathan. Now, I'm not giving away the painted version, but I am giving away an unpainted full statue like this that I'll send to one person. And got 5 custom paints, prints and paints. You reach out to me, you tell me you got an STL, I'm going to print it and paint it and send it to you. 5 people are going to win that. So you guys make sure to check out those giveaways as a thank you for the community helping raise money for Game On to end lupus. So that's all the thank you. The money's been raised. I'm still doing it all month. So check out my channel on occasion. But make sure you get a chance at those giveaways, since the community has made them possible for you. All right. It is time to raid Josephine. Thank you, everyone. Adam, as always, lovely to talk with you. Can't wait to do it again. Bye, everybody. As always, humankind.
Be both.
Be both.
Be both.
Why is my raid not working right now? My raid is not working.